Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap. I hope all of you guys had a wonderful day. My day was all right. This is your evening news recap, your daily podcast episode on, you know, anything going on in the world, really just news related overall. But thank you all for coming in. Thank you for watching. This is episode 56, and today is Monday, May 19th. We've got a lot of news to cover today, so let's get started. For today's news, we have two segments per usual, as we have the Trump administration and other news segment. A bulk of our news is coming from the Trump administration segment today with 5 topics, but we do have 2 topics in the other news section as well. With that being said, let's open up with the Trump administration segment. Our first topic today is the Budget Committee has voted to move Medicaid and SNAP cuts. The House Budget Committee has advanced Trump's domestic policy package after previously refusing it. The vote came out as 17-16, with the 4 Republicans who opposed the bill voting present. This package includes major spending increases for immigration enforcement and the military. It would also see an extend to Trump's 2017 tax cuts. It includes a series of Medicaid food assistance and clean energy cuts to pay for tax cuts and the deficit. The bill now moves the House Rules Committee, where changes can be amendments. The panel will start at 1 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. Hopefully, this bill does not pass. These cuts are insane and cut important programs for the American people that cannot and should not be removed. We don't need to spend much money on the military. We already have the second, third, and maybe even fourth top air forces in the world for one, and so many other things. So what's the point? We don't need to be giving money. We don't need to be giving tax cuts to the rich. We don't need to be spending more money on our military. We need to provide for our people. We need to provide for more than just the 1%. Rather than what the Trump administration decides to do by cutting these programs and instead using those cuts to provide for that 1%. Moving on, J.D. Vance has attacked Joe Biden. J.D. Vance attacked Joe Biden and his administration after the announcement of his new cancer diagnosis. When asked about Biden's cancer, the vice president did express condolences, but went on to say, "We really do need to be honest about whether the former president was capable of doing the job." He added, "I don't think he was in good enough health. In some ways, I don't blame him, less than I blame the people around him." This is extremely unprofessional. Sure, Biden definitely had some issues to some degree, but the real question is Trump fit for the position? He just went on a rant for nothing in Qatar for over 20 minutes. He rambled about absolutely nothing. He rambled about somebody biking to work. That's insane. He rambled about somebody in his administration being the world's best tree climber at a meeting in Qatar with some of the richest people in the world and some of the biggest CEOs in the world. That is insane. To think that Joe Biden wasn't well enough for the position where he never did anything like that. And the fact of the matter is, if any president had ever done anything like that, there would be questions for weeks if they were competent enough to do the job. And rather, Trump isn't questioned at all. Instead, people go around saying, fine and dandy, oh, Trump's fine, he can do the job. He can't. He can't. He has fallen asleep on live television. A few months ago, he shit his pants at an event. He is not competent. He is old, he cannot control his own bodily functions, and he cannot stay awake during meetings. Calling out Biden when Trump is suffering from arguably worse issues in his own competence is insane. And the fact that J.D. Vance has done this is not only unprofessional, but messed up. Truly. We're going to calm down after that one. Moving on. The Supreme Court has allowed Trump to cancel Venezuelan protection status. I have a lot to say about this one as well, so don't worry. The Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to remove deportation protections from 350,000 Venezuelans in the U.S. The ruling lifts a hold placed by a California judge that temporarily protected status in place for Venezuelans. The status allowed people to live in the United States legally and work if their home countries are deemed unsafe due to wars, natural disasters, or other extraordinary and temporary conditions. The Trump administration is also expected to revoke this protection for Haitians in August, which would impact tens of thousands of people, and Cuban immigrants could likely be subject to a similar fate. All right. The deportations need to stop. Trump, time and time again, has supported this and says they're good for the country, but they're wrong. One of the sole purposes of what our country was founded on is immigration. People came from across the world to the United States seeking opportunity from far and wide. Before this administration, there used to be a certain pride in that from immigrants, and now you don't see it as much. There used to be a pride of coming to America, becoming an American, being an American, living out your life, being successful in the land of opportunity, if you will. Um, but now, because of the Trump administration, that is not the case. Not only do we need to make it easier for people to become citizens, but we need to protect these immigrants. Nobody talks about the mom who works 3 jobs just to keep her family afloat, or the family who works together picking strawberries in a field for $4 an hour in the beating sun. Those people are Americans, not the rich who the Trump provides tax cuts for and sit in their fancy homes or ride in their space rockets. It is that mom who works tirelessly for their family, or is that dad who works tirelessly just to provide for his children. These are the people that are Americans. These are the people that hold those true American values that many have kind of strayed from. At the end of the day, we need to not only provide a better opportunity for these people coming seeking a chance, but we need to provide a better opportunity for our own people. It would not be hard to not only make a system that makes it easier for immigration, but also supports our own people. These immigrants are very beneficial to the economy. They work in the fields, they work in, laundry, they work in housekeeping. They do so many things for our economy and for the American people. Um, and really, we should not be kicking them out of the country just because they want to support their families, just because they want to have a chance at living this American dream that unfortunately is not really existent at this moment in time. Moving on to the final Trump administration segment for today, we have some interesting news as the Trump administration reportedly reached out to Qatar to buy the jet that the Trump administration is now supposedly using as Air Force One. According to CNN, the Trump administration approached Qatar first about acquiring a Boeing 747 to be used as Air Force One. This is the opposite of what Trump claimed, as he claimed Qatar reached out and offered it as a gift. After the Trump administration took office, they reached out to Boeing on acquiring a new jet, but Boeing wasn't contracted to do so for another 2 years. Trump and his administration, however, wanted a plane sooner, so Trump tasked his Middle East envoy Steve Witnikov with finding a viable plane, according to a senior White House official. Qatar expressed interests in selling planes and started negotiating with the Pentagon. Trump repeatedly called this a gesture or gift from Qatar, but that does not seem to be the case. The plane is currently in San Antonio, and I hope that thing drops out of the sky. It is going to cost taxpayers so much money, not to mention the fact that Trump basically gets to keep it himself. He is not only robbing the taxpayers alive, but he is robbing everyone alive. He is taking a plane that will cost millions of dollars to restore and get to the standard of what an Air Force One needs to be, and he is taking that from the United States government for his own personal use. And that is crazy because you are using taxpayer dollars to pay for that plane. I mean, it is just blatant robbery of the system and of the people, and it is most likely bribery. Although it hasn't been clear if it was a gift or if it was paid for. It seems like that it is a gift still, and will likely be some level of bribery. So I hope Congress does not approve this because that plane is unnecessary. Moving on to the other news segment today, we have 2 topics. The first topic today is taxpayers are going to have to pay $5 million to a January 6er family. The Trump administration is planning to pay a family of a January 6 rioter, Ashley Babbitt, $5 million in taxpayer dollars to settle a lawsuit. According to the Washington Post, Babbitt was a rioter that was shot while trying to climb through the glass panel to get inside the Capitol. The settlement reverses a 2021 DOJ finding that Babbitt's civil rights were not violated, and it was reasonable for her to be shot as she entered the Capitol with intent to attack Congress. And it has been seen as self-defense. Previously, it was seen as self-defense. The riots that took place on January 6th were an attack by Trump and his supporters. There is no other way to explain that. The people broke into the Capitol building with intent to overturn an election and likely do worse. The fact that taxpayer dollars will go to this election or go to this without a say is not okay. I know myself and many other people will think this is dumb. These people attacked the sole process that won them 2 elections, and yet they have been rewarded for it, and yet they will be successful because of it, and that is sick and unfortunate. Moving on to our final topic today, we have some wholesome news and some great news, as Sesame Street will be joining Netflix, keeping the show alive. Starting later this year, Sesame Street will start streaming on PBS and Netflix. In a press release, Netflix called the Sesame Street a beloved cornerstone of children's media, and it said the show would have a fresh format changes and the return of fan-favorite segments like Elmo's World and the return of the Cookie Monster's foodie truck. In addition, Netflix also said Cookie Monster would open his very own cookie cart on Sesame Street. It's good at the end of the day to, just end it all with some wholesome news. Hopefully this doesn't mean there will be any negative changes to, the message or anything like that, but they seem pretty good overall. Elmo is a significant piece to many children's lives, and I'm glad to hear that he and his friends will stick around and not only teach the future generations, but just kind of be there for kids. I watched Elmo growing up, and I'm sure many people who are watching this also watched Elmo growing up, and he's just been an important part for many American households, and seeing that leave would be truly the end of an era and truly the end of a big part of American history. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. Not much for me to talk about essentially tonight. Kind of just gonna go chill out, play some games. And that's about it from me. Hope all you guys had a wonderful day. Hope all you guys enjoyed watching today's episode. If you're on YouTube, please consider subscribing. We are on our way to 500 subscribers. Please also consider liking and dropping a comment down below on your thoughts on the video. I appreciate all forms of support. It truly means the world to me. But we're on our way to 500 subscribers, so hopefully we can get there eventually. I know we're on the way to 170 right now, almost 200. So let's get to 200. Hopefully by the end of June, that would be really cool to me. But yeah, if you're on Substack, please consider pledging your support. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I'll need to pay for in college, like clothes, fooding, all the other things. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on my content. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. With that being said, please also check out my Blue Sky. It's where I post out the announcements for these and, also other little bits and pieces of information. But yeah, with all of that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode. Later.